Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. Today's topic is Beyond Basics. So this means that this is for those of you who want to learn a little bit more of the advanced stuff. You should have some experience, in this case with analytics and Tag Manager. We're going to talk about cross-domain measurement for iFrames. Looking forward to this one, actually. My name, if this is your first Workshop Wednesday, by the way, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. I actually do go by Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You can too. I'm the co-founder here at measurementmarketing.io. And whether you came from the podcasts and talks that we give out, virtual summits, all that fun stuff, which, by the way, I am always looking for. So feel free to go to the speaking page at measurementmarketing.io and submit your event. Happy to help you out and to educate your audience wherever we can. Maybe you've already come from places where we've done that, like a digital marketer, CXL Institute, Social Media Examiner, or maybe you are already a member, whether a free Toolbox member or a Win Monthly Pass or Academy member over at measurementmarketing.io. However you got here, appreciate you being here. Thank you. And looking forward to helping you learn your numbers. And obviously, we're here to teach you analytics and Tag Manager and all that fun stuff, and really for normal people. So yes, some technical skills are sometimes required, but we try to do it in a fun, sort of easy to follow way. And hopefully today will be no exception, even though it's a little bit more advanced than some of the other topics we normally handle. Now, we do teach the measurement marketing framework. Remember, 5 key pieces. It helps put today's training in context. So when you are planning out information, number 1, planning. You got to figure out what questions are important, what information you need, and what actions you're going to take based upon the information that you get back. In iFrames, when you're tracking iFrames, part of the planning process, you might realize you've got to get through an iFrame or a booking engine or something else that's some sort of embedded iFrame form or embedded iFrame display or interaction or something like that. And they're kind of a pain. The build out is really what we're going to focus on today. How do you do that with Tag Manager? So I'll show you how to do that. Then you will actually be able to build a report because you have everything all nice and cross-domained so that you can actually measure traffic attribution and you don't break the session or show different users and all that nasty stuff that can happen with iFrames. And of course, then you can start to forecast and optimize. So this one in particular is a really powerful skill to have. So we're going to show you how to get it all set up. Now, with all of these trainings that we do, every single workshop, just get one new thing, one new concept. And I'm going to talk to those of you who are here because you're like, oh, I got these free trainings at Workshop Wednesday, and you're watching this and you're just starting out. This is more advanced. This is a lot more advanced. So don't worry about all the bells and whistles that you see back here. Just understand it's a thing. Kind of watch it to be exposed to it, but that's really it. That's all you really need. Now, if you have some experience and this is a chance to level up your skills, then pay attention to how this is going and how we're doing cross-domain measurement and the different stages and steps that I'm going to follow as we go through here. Because I'm going to teach us in a different way as we stair-step into a proper cross-domain measurement setup with iFrames. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Beyond Basics, cross-domain measurement for iFrames. All right, we're going to jump right into this one because this is definitely on the more advanced side. First, we're going to talk about what is an iFrame? What are we trying to figure out? Here's what we're trying to figure out. This is our little demo site. So we've got a parent page, which is this. And from a measurement perspective, analytics and Tag Manager, everything else sees the parent page. Then I happen to know the owner of Serious and Simple Marketing, which of course is myself. But we've got, a little sister site, Serious and Simple Marketing, put a little iFrame in here. So from a measurement perspective, what happens is Tag Manager and Analytics sees all of this here, and then this is kind of a black hole. It's not able to see anything in this. So what's the first thing that we do? Well, we put Tag Manager in the iFrame. Now, this is a caveat. This is the only sort of big disclaimer. If you cannot get Tag Manager into the iFrame itself, meaning you have no control at all what's going on, you can't get Tag Manager, there's no way to get visibility into that, then you are out of luck. Because from a measurement perspective, this will be a big black hole and you'll not have any measurement at all because you literally cannot track somebody else's site you can't control, and it's the exact same thing. Even if it's an iFrame, you still can't control it. All the code is on serioussimplemarketing.com. It's not in the parent frame, in this case of measurementmarketing.io. So how do I know what this currently looks like from a measurement standpoint? Now, what I think I have is visibility into this page and visibility into this page, but they are not currently the same user. It's not connected. It's not connecting the dots. So I want to make sure to TBV this. How do I do this? Well, we're going to turn on GA Debug extension. You should be using this. It's a great extension. So again, just GA Debug. You can find it in the Toolbox as well, or just Google it and you can install it. And what we're going to do is we're going to inspect, go into Chrome DevTools, and the first thing we're going to do is go into Console. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to scroll up to the top. Because your setups, again, don't worry about every little thing we have set up here. I'm just going to point out the main things because this is an existing setup, an existing implementation. There's different things firing back and forth. And that's what you're going to be working with, right? When you're working with other sites, they're not going to be super clean, pristine implementations. So I'm going to show you kind of a real world scenario of what this would look like. So what we run into is I pull this up and I can first see there's our page view. And what I really care about is this right here, client ID 2060. So I'm ending in client ID, technically 42060, right? There's my client ID. This is how analytics knows me. This is on the parent page. How do I know it's the parent page? Because I can see that right here, location. And it shows all my UTMs and everything else, okay? Because you always got to UTM yourself when you're testing stuff out. So there's my page view. What I care about is this 2060, because that's how analytics knows I am a certain type of user, a unique user. So then I'm going to scroll down, see what else was reported. Well, in this little system here, it looks like Seriously Simple Marketing. Okay, there's my location, Seriously Simple Marketing. But if you look here, 2062. There's a problem. Because here, I'm user 2060. Here, I am user 2061. Or sorry, 2062. So I am a completely different user. So analytics sees me as user A here, but in the iFrame, I'm user B. I'm a completely different user. So that's not great because I can't connect the dots from UTMs, right? The UTMs aren't going to follow through because it's two completely different users, let alone different sessions. So that's the problem. That's what we're trying to solve. We need to connect the dots. And that's how I know I have a problem. Again, the good news is I have visibility. If I scrolled through here and I couldn't see Seriously Simple Marketing at all, then there's no visibility at all. I can't connect the dots. I want to be able to connect the dots. And in my case, I can. There's some visibility. I'm the one putting analytics on there. I'm the one putting Tag Manager on there. So I've got control of what's happening here. It's super important. You have to have that control. If you cannot control what's happening on the iFrame, you cannot measure what's happening on the iFrame. So even if it's not you, but you can get to somebody else who controls it, that's fine. But you have to have some sort of influence over the measurement setups on the iFrame because we have to change both things. We're going to change the outside, the parent side, and we're going to change the child, the little child iFrame here. So how are we going to do this? Well, I'm going to do this in what I think is the simplest possible way to set up. And for that, we're going to bring over Tag Manager. So we've got Tag Manager, a little demo container set out. And what I did is I kept it all in the same container. And I have, this container now, this container script, and it is placed in our parent. So it's actually part of measurementmarketing.io, the demo site. And it's also in Seriously Simple Marketing, as of this recording at least, so we can show you this. So it's on that site as well. So I've placed this container on both sides because, again, I have control of the iFrame itself, which is the Seriously Simple Marketing side. I have control over the measurementmarketing.io side. So I've got control over both sides. And so I've placed the container, this same container, on both. So I'm only going to make the changes in one container, right, just to keep it nice and simple. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to follow Simo's advice. Now, if you do not yet follow Simo Ahava, this is a Beyond Basics. You should absolutely be following Simo Ahava. Great guy, makes GTM do backflips, amazing technicality when he comes into how to do this stuff, but you'll learn a ton, and it is technical, and sometimes it'll be over your head. It's over my head most of the time, I'll be honest, but he's amazing at what he does and showing you what's possible. So it's super useful to follow. And I wanted to show this, number one, to highlight his blog again, because I have learned so much from it. So I stand on the shoulders of giants, but also to show you this particular technique, because I don't see this technique out there very often. I see a lot of other techniques, but I don't see this one. And I think this is really a simple one to set up, or at least it will be, hopefully, as we go through and do it. So what this is his, and you have a link to this in the members area, the tracking cross-domain iFrames upgraded solution. You can just Google this. And what this is, I'm going to kind of walk through the very high level. This is using something called a custom task, which is a universal analytics API thing. It's kind of a new thing, a newer thing, I should say, that came out for universal analytics, where you can intercept the details that are being sent over to Google Analytics as they are being sent, kind of. So as the hit is being built, you can intercept it and you can customize it, which is important because in this case, we need the hit that is being built. And I'm going to go back to our other page here. So the hit, this is a hit. This is a page view hit. as this page view hit is being built, we're going to need to replace the client ID. We're going to have to link the client ID. We're going to have to, change it over. Technically, we'll do it here in the Serious System Marketing side. We've got to change the client ID. We got to link the client ID into the URL, and we got to make sure that it all gets passed through correctly. So we're going to intercept some stuff. We're going to customize some stuff. We're going to do a custom task. Hence, custom task. So cool thing that Simo's talking about here. That's what this is. So the way that this works is basically we come through and we set up this script. So we're going to copy and paste this script, and always TBV, but I'm just going to technically copy and paste this out. But you always trust but verify, which of course is what I'm doing live with you here. But I'm just going to copy this out. And then we're going to go into Tag Manager and I'm going to insert this as a custom JavaScript variable. It's our first step. So I've got some existing stuff back here. I'm first going to go through and I'm going to set up a custom JavaScript variable. So I'm going to call this CJS. This is iFrame cross domain. And now we're going to just paste that in there. So now I've got my custom JavaScript iFrame set up. Okay, now the only thing that you really have to care about here is this, which is the idea of where this is. So you need to tell, this is directions, right? So this needs to know where the iframe is. And it says, in this case, iframe decorate me. So what we have is if I come into the page again, and I go back into my elements, and I hover over some of these. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I'm just going to do this, right? Playing inspect, it'll get me to it. Okay, so nope, now I'm in the iframe. This is what I want. Right click, inspect on the parent. There we go. So now I'm kind of closer. There's my little iframe right there. So it says iframe, and it's currently set up for ID of iframe. Again, what you're about to see, you can see over here. In fact, look over here as I move my mouse. So just keep staring at this spot, and you'll see what I'm talking about. When it comes over, it says iframe #iframe. So that's the directions that we're going to give it. It's like, here's where to go. Go find this iframe, this specific iframe that you would want to set up. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to tell that. So it's using something called a CSS selector is all this is. So it's iframe instead of hashtag decorate me. It's hashtag iframe. And it's capital F because that's how it's set up. Remember, always assume case sensitive. So if I hover over it again, you'll see that it's right there. So you see it's capital. So it's iframe lowercase hashtag I and then capital F for frame. So a little camel case thing going on there technically. So we've got our iframe directions. So that should be set. This is all we really should need to do here. Now, again, for more details on how this works, come into Simo's post, go through it. He explains it in intricate detail of what it's actually doing and some things you need to look for. So also, he notes iframes suck. I also believe that. Everybody else who tries to measure through these believes that. So if you are a developer and you're developing and you're trying to do an iframe when you could do something else, do yourself a favor, do the world a favor, do something else. Don't do an iframe because they're just a pain. But again, sometimes they're unavoidable, especially from a measurement perspective. So we're going to deal with it. So we got to deal with this. So what we're going to do is we're now going to save this. We've changed the selector, the CSS selector, which is just the direction. So it knows where to go, or at least hopefully it does. We'll always TBV this stuff. And now we're going to save it. So we've saved a custom JavaScript variable, the CJS iframe right there. So saved it. Now we've got our custom JavaScript variable set up. What do we do with this? So what we do is we now need to go to our Google Analytics settings variable. It's part of the reason I love this thing. So we're going to click into it and we're going to add it in to, in this case, fields to set. And we're going to say add field custom task. So we're going to do custom task. And that's just type that in. And then we're going to say, okay, what is the custom task you're supposed to be doing? And it's this custom JavaScript variable, which runs all the code, which should theoretically look for the iframe, intercept it, change the client ID and all that fun stuff and from the parent. That's what it's going to do. That's what it should do. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And now what we're going to do is we've got this cross-domain tracking, the custom JavaScript variable set up with our details of where to go. We have our Google Analytics settings variable set up. And now what would we do? Well, we could, I'm not going to preview. I highly recommend you preview. I'm not going to do it here because I'm going to do an incognito window over and over again. What I would actually do if it wasn't for sake of time for this recording is I would log into Tag Manager and share previews in an incognito window. I'm not going to do that currently because actually, you know what? I might. Let's try this. I want to show it to you. This is a pretty good technique if this works. I didn't rehearse this. So let's make sure. So I'm going to go to preview. I'm going to go to share preview. And let's see if this is going to make me sign in again. So we're just going to grab that link. Actually, make sure I need to have it on a certain page because I have my iFrames set up. So I'm going to do this URL. And all I'm doing is just sharing the preview. This is also good if you're using Ask Instructor support in our system, because then you can share previews and we can go in and probably help you out with it as well. So I'm going to go back here, paste in the URL. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this out. Close. Now let's see if this works. With any luck, it will. But it might make me log in. Oops, that did not copy. So I'm going to try to close this whole thing out. Share preview. Copy. I'm just right-click and copy. Okay. Now I'm going to go open up my incognito. It's probably going to make me try to sign in. Nope. Perfect. Great. Okay. So now it's going to say, hey, we're going here. Start previewing. Visit this website. I'm going to do that. There's our preview. All right. So we've got our preview working. We've got a custom JavaScript variable doing its thing. Remember, it's not going to fire a tag. I shouldn't be looking for any tags. I don't need to even worry about it. So we're off to the races. But I just want to make sure that it's working, right? So I've got this custom JavaScript stuff working. So let's go through and find out what's going on. So we've got our GA debug turned on. We're going to right-click and inspect. And what I expect, we're going to practice this. What I would expect to happen is that cross-domain tracking is working, right? Of course, we just set it up, so it should be fine. We did this custom JavaScript thing. We followed some CMOS blog posts. We should be good to go. So we're going to go to console, and we're going to scroll to the top, and we're going to see what the story is, what got reported. As you can see the preview windows here as well, and see your simple marketing because preview's turned on. So we're going to come through. First thing I see is a page view. So far, so good. -4 is the account, which is great because that's the demo account that we're going to. 3379. Okay, so that's the client ID. So what I want to have happen is 3379 is all the way through all of this. And I'm currently on measurementmarketing.io page. Then I'm going to scroll down. Let's go to the next hit that reports. So here's the seriously simple marketing side. 3380, but wait. 3380, 3379, those are not the same number, right? I know numbers are hard, but in this case, pretty simple. It's different. That's not what we expect. But here's what's interesting. If you look at event action, if you look at event label, if you look at location, you will notice there's a parameter here that should be familiar to those of you who have set up cross-domain tracking before. It's the linker. So we've decorated the link. So actually, that custom JavaScript variable is totally doing its thing. It's decorated the link, and it's decorated with the right number. You see it ends in 3379. That's our client ID. So what we have here is the link decorated to 3379, but for some reason the client ID is still showing 3380 when it should be showing 3379. That's what we want. So we have not really achieved what we want to achieve, at least not yet. So we're going to X out of this, close this whole thing out. And we have to go back to the drawing board. Okay, let's TBV. Let's trust but verify. Where did we go wrong here? We have the linker, we have the GA thing in the URL, and that's normally the hard part with this iFrame stuff. So what did we miss? Well, let's go back and take a look. Where do we set up cross-domain tracking? We set it up in the gas variable. So if we come into the gas variable, what do you see missing here? And this is kind of something that I did accidentally when I was doing this whole rehearsal before. And I thought it would be a good thing to do with you here now, because sometimes you miss the obvious. We didn't set up anything for cross-domain at all. So of course it's not working. It's doing the linker thing, but we didn't set up cross-domain tracking. So how do we set up cross-domain tracking? Well, at this point, it's just standard cross-domain tracking. So first things first, we're going to come in, do the auto-link domains. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to do seriously simple marketing.com. And, typically I do back and forth. So it's like measurementmarketing.com as well. So assuming that the sites are going back and forth. So we'd set something like that up. So we have that. And then we need to allow linker equals true. And this allow linker equals true is like the most important part of this. Because what this does is this says, if you see the linker in the URL, that little underscore GA, if you see it, then override yourself. Don't do the regular Google Analytics. I want you to override with whatever that value is. That's what this does. This is incredibly important. So what we're going to do now is save. And now we're going to come back and we're going to refresh our preview. I'm going to share our preview. I'm going to copy our preview again here. And then we're going to go back into incognito. Again, why am I doing incognito? Because it's these cookies, right? So I want to make sure that it's started with a completely clean slate. So we're going to paste that in. And then we're going to click on our page, because this is the page that has the iframe. So we've got a little previews showing up. I don't really care about these because I'm actually not firing tags, or has nothing to do with that. In this case, I'm only doing preview to test out the custom JavaScript variable in my gas settings, my gas variable settings. So now I'm going to go back and we're going to look and see, did it work? So we're going to inspect. And at this point, I'm going to come into console and we're going to see the story. So I'm going to scroll up to the top and let's see the story. Let's see if it worked. So what do we expect to happen? Well, now that we know the ID is, in this case, 3614, okay, it's a brand new browser, so it's a different number. So 3614 is our client ID. It was a page view when we were on measurement marketing, which is great. So far, so good. What I want to have happen, what you and I both want to desperately have happen, is that this idea of 3614 actually goes through all the way. So we're going to come through 3614, come down to the next hit. Here's the next hit coming through. We can tell because of Google Analytics here. I know I'm keeping you in suspense, but let's find out. And 3615, still don't see it. Okay, so I've got 3615 coming through. I still have the linker in there. That's event action. Let's go to location. So I still see 3614, but I'm not actually seeing the linker pick up. So I've got measurementmarketing.io. I've got Seriously Simple Marketing. So now I got to go back and I got a TBV. I got to trust but verify my setup because this should have worked, right? That's what we wanted. We have 3614, but it's 3615 still. So we got to make sure. And I always like to scroll through to see if it flipped out. And in this case, actually, you know what? I take that back. Let's make sure. Ooh, this one's tricky. You ready? You want to see what just happened? It actually did work. So if I come through here, this is going to happen to you too. So let me go through. So here's this 3614. So we see 3614 and you're like, okay. And then we see coming down, scroll engagement 3614. So we see all of that. Okay. So what's been going on? Let's take a look and see what actually is happening. Seriously Simple Marketing. Remember, it's a different site and you're setting up cross-domain tracking for your site, in our case, our site, which is measurementmarketing.io. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in another variable to the story. So here it's client ID 3614. It's reporting a page view. I'm on measurementmarketing.io. I am reporting to this analytics property, -4. This is our demo account. So this is going to -4. All right, so far, so good. So now I'm going to scroll down, go see the next hit, Google Analytics hit. So then, again, we expected 3614, but we don't see 3614. We do see the linker that's coming in, 3614, right? And technically, you look at location. So 3614, that's there, okay? This is actually an event. This is not a page view. It's still a hit, but it's an event hit. It's okay, but look where it's going. Totally different analytics property. So technically, this doesn't matter because this analytics property doesn't have directions. This is a totally separate installation. This is the actual installation on Seriously Simple Marketing that's done for Seriously Simple Marketing measurement that has nothing to do with tracking through measurementmarketing.io. So this is the existing implementation on Seriously Simple Marketing, and that's okay that it does its own thing because it is a different user to that site. Who cares? That's fine, right? That's fine. So even though the linker's there, this installation isn't told to look for the linker, so it doesn't override it at this point. So it's okay. And now we're going to come through and we're going to go to the next hit. And there's our page view. And we are on location, Seriously Simple Marketing, with a linker. And now look, 3614. And it's our ID. So this is how we know it's working because we're able to actually stitch together the dots. So I'm going to go through this again, top down. And it's kind of interesting. This is one of those things you don't really have to go into preview or anything else for. You can kind of do it all from this screen once you got it set up. So I've got here the first hit, which is a page view. It's where the client ID is figured out, 3614. It's where it's first set. It is the location currently that we're on is measurementmarketing.io. Here's the cart with the parameters. So that's where it is. And it's going to -4, which is the demo account. The next hit that comes through was a decoy hit, right? Not really a decoy, but kind of, right? We thought it wasn't working, but it turns out it was, even though the number was wrong here. It wasn't what we wanted. Client ID wasn't what we wanted, but it was okay because it was this installation. It was a different installation. It wasn't affecting our installation. Totally different account. Totally different accounts. It didn't matter. So if we come through down to the page view though, so the page view at this point does get overwritten. And this is the page view hit. And how do I know it's the right page? Because I can see under location, Seriously Simple Marketing. And then here's all the parameters that's got our linker in there. At this point, this installation kicks in and goes, hey, I've been told that if there's a linker available, override. And so instead of 3615, it goes to 3614. And then it stays at 3614 for the rest of the journey as it comes through because it overrode the client ID. So that's 3614. So that's how that worked. So now we know that cross-domain measurement is actually setting up. We've done it through an iFrame and we've passed it through. So kudos to you. That's an awesome thing. So now iFrame tracking pretty much done at this point. We know it's working. We've got it set out. Of course, you want a TBV, go through, do some tests, click through, different things, measure the things you're trying to measure, and then ultimately see in analytics. But from the perspective of the GA debug, this is really where I look for cross-domain tracking, is if this changes. I know it's, it needs to stay the same throughout the journey. In this case, it is. So we saw how it's connecting the dots and coming back, and that's how analytics stitches everything together. So it should be fine at this point. We're good. Now, one other caveat, this is kind of a hack kind of thing, is sometimes you will have weird funnels to measure. And by weird, I mean somebody that wasn't a measurement marketer built the funnel, because they will do crazy stuff. Like they are, filling out a form maybe on this page, but then it goes to this page directly. Okay, so meaning the thank you page is Serious Simple Marketing or something. So you go from one domain directly to another, and there's no opportunity for you to link the two, right? And maybe you've run into this before, where you can't pass a linker through because you're going, to a CRM system, and the CRM is sending it back, and it's not passing through a linker. That stuff happens a lot. So what you can do in that case, and for those of you that, whether you either have run into that where you go, God, I know exactly what you're talking about, it's so annoying, or you haven't yet, but you will. And again, you can always use Ask an Instructor if you need help with this, because that's what we have it there for you. But the idea here is if you have that problem where you can't actually pass a linker through to the CRM and then have the CRM pass it back to the thank you page to load, right? And I'm just going to do this as an example, just to play around a little bit, but just so you can see it, because I don't have a true example of this. Let's pretend this was a form. I fill out the form and it goes, thank you. And it shows up here. That's what I'm talking about. Completely different domain. And it won't have a linker because you can't send through the linker, right? It's not, at least not easily. So because it's going to the CRM first, it's creating a contact record, or it's doing a purchase or whatever the thing is. And then it sends back without the GA ID, which shows up as a new user. So how do you do the cross domain through that nightmare scenario? Good news is it doesn't use an iFrame, at least in that, because it's using the thank you page. Bad news is you still can't set up cross-domain tracking. So what do? Well, you actually inject an iFrame. And that's where you can use Tag Manager to just do a little HTML iFrame. You can make it 1 pixel by 1 pixel, load up Serious and Simple Marketing. That's what I would do. Load up Serious and Simple Marketing, have a 404 page or a specific page on that site that is just to load the site, right? Just to load the site. And then you set up iFrame cross-domain tracking like you just saw us do here. So what would happen is this page would load up. It would actually have an iFrame that's just 1 by 1 pixel that nobody can see. It's not visible at all, but it loads the domain, the Serious Simple Marketing domain. So instead of being visible like this, which I think this is like 600 by 300, to make it 1 by 1. So it's nothing, right? Just a one little pixel thing. It's still there. It's just not visible to the naked eye. And then but technically what happens is the page loads up, and then iFrame cross-domain tracking happens here. And then when you come over to this side, and again, I'm just going to inspect this because we came directly to this. I just loaded this up. I came direct none. So if we go to console, you can see the ID is already 3614 on this side. Why is that? It's because the iFrame set it here. So that's a nice little hack. If you have a step that goes from here to here, and you can't figure out how to get the two, well, you can preload an iFrame, do a 1 by 1 iFrame, and you can fire that tag in Tag Manager, custom HTML tag, do iFrame, just regular HTML. And that'll preload the page so that, again, don't use the thank you page because you don't want to mess up your conversions, but you could preload any other page on that domain, 404 page or something, or create your own domain, page just for that purpose, basically, because you want to filter it out. You don't want to fire page views or anything, but you do want it to load analytics and at least get this thing working so that it cookies them. And then when they load up on the thank you page, they arrive. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, if that kind of didn't make sense, it's just because you haven't run into that situation. But again, if you've ever run in the situation where you have the one page that says, hey, fill out our form, and then the next page says, great, now you're on a totally different domain, and it's a thank you page or something like that after some sort of form fill, and there's no linker and you can't figure out how to get the linker on there, try the iFrame trick. Remember, you have to have measurement on both sides. You have to have control over the measurement on both sides. But if you do, it's a super cool, simple way to track across, even when they have different domains. So it's kind of a cool little hack. All right. So with that, hopefully you picked up 1 or 2 new things. Maybe it's just the idea that this iFrame thing exists. Maybe it was using GA debug, especially if you're new and you haven't really used that extension too much. You might practice that. Again, free extension, put it out there. You see how we used it. And I know I went a little fast, but remember, this is a beyond basics. So if your head's spinning a little bit, that's okay. because you can stick with the getting started stuff, and then eventually you will come back to these. Right? These are things that help you level up your skills. Now, if you already have some experience, maybe you haven't used G8 debug to the way we have before. Maybe you haven't seen the linker in action. Maybe you never really looked at it like we did before. Maybe you've just never gone through iFrames, or you never thought about that cool little iFrame hack that we talked about at the very end, where you can actually load an iFrame just so that you can eventually see because the page shows up later in the customer journey and you can't get to it otherwise. So there's some cool things that you can do with this setup. And thanks to C Mojave, it is not really that hard at all to set up using custom tasks. Now, if you want to learn more about this, if you are not already an active member at measuremarketing.io, I encourage you to go to measure.tips/courses. You'll see all of our courses there, including Win Monthly Pass, kind of our all-you-can-eat plan for everything we have. Also, next week's topic is a strategy session. So we're going to go from beyond basics to a strategy session that's really geared for those of you who are maybe not the implementer, but you have to use the stuff. So we're going to talk about the landing page report and how to read a landing page report in Google Analytics. But remember, if you want access to that, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That'll guarantee you get access to it. There is another way that you can also get access to it if you're not yet a Toolbox member. That is our free membership. Remember, Win Monthly Pass members, Academy members, you already have access to all this stuff and so much more. But those of you who want to get access to some things, like you want all these Workshop Wednesdays trainings and have access to those, because we have new ones each week back there. If you want access to all the different tools that we have, including Traffic Tracking Toolkit, the GTM Cookbook, all sorts of other stuff. There's like 40 tools now, and so on. There's quite a bit that go back there. So all of that is free. The Measure Marketing Toolbox membership, completely free. All you need to do is go to measure.tips/ww. It'll take you right to the page where you can activate the account, get everything signed up. It'll send you your login details, and then you've got access to it. So you can take a look at everything and play along at home as you watch these videos as well. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and bring that officially to a close. This has been Beyond Basics, cross-domain measurement for iFrames. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.